The programming doesn't matter as much because if you know that your actions align with the ultimate vision of what you have, then you just focus on execution. The programming is going to take care of itself. If you're doing the right things, great. If it's not, then you're going to know how to pivot and you're going to adjust it. But knowing how to execute in the best way, that is the number one important piece.
Welcome to the Strength Connection Podcast, a show to share stories, insights, and experiences in strength, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I'm Michael Kurkowski, host of the Strength Connection, and I'm so grateful that you can join me today. So in these episodes, I connect with some of the most inspiring and successful individuals to chop it up and learn from true life experiences that have helped them become who they are, the strongest versions of themselves. One of the greatest ways I've always learned the most important lessons is through stories. We all have them and they make us who we are. So let's dive in. Here we go.
What's up, my friend? Welcome to the Strength Connection Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Michael Kurkowski. I am your host on this special solo episode. It is me and you. It's been a busy few weeks on the podcast. Some great guests, some really great insights. I want to share a couple with you today, but then also the Unveiling Strength Seminar, which is something I've just put out. I believe when this is out, you're listening to this, it is already passed. But if you want to hear the recording of that, you can take a look at the show notes and get the information there. And a lot of what I wanted to harp on with you today was things I learned from putting together this seminar. No joke, and in all confidence, this is the best seminar I've ever put together. I think this is the best information curated that I've been able to do over the past few years of putting mastery seminars together. And this one was extra special. So it started because last year, with my own clientele, with the private clients I work with, we do a 4 to 6 week goal setting process. So it's not something that we just talk about for 30 minutes and then just start implementing a plan. I really wanted to take the whole time and really get deep into what is the vision? What is your definition of success? So when we're going into actions, we know whether we're aligning with the vision or not. And that's what I wanted to do in a full seminar. And putting this together, a lot of just light bulbs went off on things that I've learned from guests that come on podcast, these great minds of strength that have shared the things that they've succeeded at, the failures that they went through, and really the biggest lessons that they've learned. So it's too many names to put on here. I'll put a couple of them in here, but the one main message I wanted to put on here is that the more I learn about health and fitness and the body, the more I realize that it is so little about the body and more about the harmony of body, mind, and spirit. So usually when we say this is not as important, then usually we lean on something else. It's 80% nutrition, 20% workout. We've heard that a million different times. And I don't think it's necessarily saying it's less about physical training and changing your body or getting healthy, from the inside out, but it's more about just that connection of body, mind, and spirit. And what I mean by that is this insight that I got from Joel Cochran. If you listen to that episode, he said it at the beginning, but he said all coaches, what we're all trying to do, if there's one common denominator amongst all of us, is we're trying to develop self-confidence for people. If you can give somebody confidence, then they can change the world. And that's where so many people are, is they feel either they are anxious about what to do or when to do it. They don't know if what they're doing is the right things or not. And all of a sudden this anxiety and this existential crisis starts coming out from there. And what that comes down is that they're not confident in themselves, if what they're doing is right. It might be self-efficacy. It might be the belief in what they can do. There could be a lot of different branches that come off of that tree. But he said that if we understand that the best thing that we can do is make somebody feel confident in what they do and in themselves, then they will do anything that you ask of them, and they'll be able to believe that they can do anything that they go into. And that's where I've realized a lot of talking with people over the last 12 to 18 months is there's this narrative that goes around that people are lazy, that they don't want to do things and stuff. And that is not the experience that I've had from talking with a lot of people in coaching and the goals that they have. Most people that I hear are very hardworking. They're very driven. They want to succeed and they want to change their lives. They want to do better. But often it's that they're very poor at knowing exactly what that vision is. And I think that comes down to some of the conversations I've had with Jen Brocksterman and Joel, is that I think inherently we are just not good at goal setting because we look at exterior things, we look at external people that we want to aspire to and think that that is the definitions of success, or I want to change my body and look this certain way. So that's what it is, without actually taking the time and saying, well, what is most valuable to me? Like, what is the vision that I want to create for my life? Not from any anybody else's definition, but what is my own definition? I think every adult, you should have your own definition of success, and then you strive to get there. And then what I realized of doing this seminar is that action aligned with our vision creates peace and confidence. Action misaligned with vision creates anxiety. And how many people are doing action, or they think that they're doing a lot of different things, but it's not aligned with what their vision is. That's when anxiety comes in. That's when demoralization comes out. So I think the best thing that I found from this is that if anything that you do, if you know your vision, then you can actually take action that feels like it's aligned with it. And then you know whether you're on the right course or not. It's not about just driving the car. It's making sure that you're on the right highway. So that's what I learned a lot from Joel Cochran in the work that he does with Proclivity Nutrition. I appreciate you, Joel, for bringing that conversation up here. And yeah, hope we can do it again soon. And with that, one of the things that I talked about with Brett Jones that was on the podcast. So if you haven't listened to that one, I love talking to Brett. Every time I talk with Brett, it is just more nuggets, more insights. And it's interesting because I've known Brett in a coaching relationship for like 14 years. So we talk regularly, and I often sometimes forget how wise he is in so many different factors of training. And he just knows how to simplify complex information down into things that you can digest easily. And one of the questions I asked him at the end of that episode was, what is something in your decades of training that you used to value a lot that you don't value as much now? And he made a kind of a joke. He's like, all right, like let the critics come out. Let me get, tarred and feather for this. But he says, programming doesn't matter. Execution does. And he talked about the great movie Blue Chips with Nick Nolte. Unbelievable movie. If you haven't seen that from the 90s, Nick Nolte is the college basketball coach. And at the end, they're playing Indiana, who's the number one team in the nation. And he's talking with the team beforehand, pregame speech. And he says, Bobby Knight in Indiana, they're over there in the other locker room wondering what the heck we're going to do. He's like, well, you know what? I'll send a note over to Bobby Knight. I'll tell him exactly what we're going to do. I'll give him our offensive plan. I'll give him our defensive plan. It doesn't matter because it's not what you do. It's how you do it. And I love that. I love that reference of it, but it really stems back into what we're talking about here with execution. Is the programming doesn't matter as much, because if you know that your actions align with the ultimate vision of what you have, then you just focus on execution. The programming is going to take care of itself. If you're doing the right things, great. If it's not, then you're going to know how to pivot and you're going to adjust it. But knowing how to execute in the best way, that is the number one important piece. So if you take away anything from this is, this is a time of, call it forced reflection of December. It's towards the end of our year. Whether you dive deep into it or not, we are looking at goals of what we want to accomplish going into the next year. My best advice or my best insight that I can give is take your time on it. Actually take a few weeks, take some time to actually dive into what is most valuable to you. Like, what are your core values? What is your vision? Can you envision it? Do you do an imagination theater about, do you feel it? Can you actually step into that day of how that feels, of what you want to bring out into your life? And if you do that and you do it very well, then you can go into action knowing that you're on the right path. And that creates peace, that creates confidence. All right, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening. Much love to you. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for listening. Catch you on the next one. All right, peace.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some great value here. And if you like this episode, please drop a comment and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does more to build the show than you can imagine. And do not forget to check out and join the Strength Connection Facebook group. In this group, I share the biggest takeaways and lessons from these amazing conversations, as well as training and strength tips for pursuing mastery and fulfillment in life. This group is filled with individuals looking to take full control over their strength, and it's the perfect space to explore new ideas and to share your journey. And you'll also get exclusive access to the Strength Connection Mastery Seminars. It's a deep dive into the physical, mental, and spiritual training that you can begin using immediately. So do not wait, go now. Seriously, go. All right, much love to you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.